Hey guys, we are in the basement and today we're going to do part number 5 of the Journey restoration. That's right, we're going back to the garage to continue working on the Journey. And today's video, the goal here is to rebuild that G07 monitor that is in the Journey because I'm not very happy with how that monitor looks. And today we're going to take the time to rebuild it. We're going to install a cap kit. We're going to check B+ voltage. We're going to converge it. I want that monitor to look as good as possible by the end of the video. So anyway, enough of that. Why don't we go to the garage and let's get working on that Journey. All right, guys, here's where we are with the Journey today. Now, in the last video, we wired up the control panel. We made a harness for the control panel so we can plug the buttons and the joysticks and all that business into our Tron MCR harness. And yeah, I have a Tron harness in here because I didn't have a Journey one. And you know what? The game works now. It's totally playable. And it's freaking awesome. And actually, I've been playing a lot of Journey the last week here since the last video, and I'm loving it. And you know what? Some of you guys out there were dissing the gameplay. I saw those comments saying how the game looks stupid or gay or whatever you guys said. So, yeah, you know what? This is a classic game. Leave it alone. It is a good game. It's very unique. You know, a lot of guys hate on Tron too, and it's the same kind of thing where you have multiple game modes. But anyway, cool game. I've been playing it, and you know what? I'm getting really excited because we're getting close. And I got an email from Rich at This Old Game, and my artwork should be here on Tuesday. So this game's going to be looking less like a Taito US Classic golf game very soon. First thing I'm going to do when I get the artwork is I'm going to throw the marquee on the bezel and probably the control panel overlay. And it's going to like instantly look like Journey because right now it's looking kind of sad. Also in the last video, one of you guys out there, I don't remember the name, pointed out, he said, hey John, your game is missing some sounds. And I'm like, what? And I kind of compared it to MAME and some videos, and I really couldn't figure out if it was missing sounds. It seemed like it kind of was or it wasn't. And so what I did is I put the game into test, and let me see if we can get it into test now. On this, there's like a service switch in here, okay? And it's right here. I don't have it mounted right now. And if you slide this over, the game will go into test. Now, the thing is, it won't go into test until it cycles through all of the screens. So we just kind of have to wait till it goes through all the screens. But when it does, I'll show you guys what's happening. And apparently, I am missing some sounds. And it's not a big deal, though, because the guy I bought the board from, CD Jump, who is, like, super awesome, I told him what was happening. He said, yeah, no problem. I'll send you a new SSIO board, which is the Super Sound Input-Output board, which is one of the boards in the Journey stack. And I'll show you guys that here. So here's the Journey stack. It's a 3-board stack, and this board is the sound board. It's like the soundboard input-output, and these little connectors here are for the speakers and for the controls. So it does all the sound and the joystick inputs and all that stuff. So he's going to send me a new one of these because apparently I am missing sounds, and if it's in test here, I'll show you guys. And we just have to wait for it to go through its thing. Now, you can hurry up the test mode by hitting the slam switch, but for some reason, when I do that, the game locks up completely, so I just have to kind of wait for it to go through its thing. And it should happen in a second here. And also, since the last video, I picked up this stuff here. This is the kick plate, and Twisted Quarter sells this. And it's a common part that's used on the Bally Midway games. You'll see this on the bottom of Tron. I think discs of Tron. I think the Pac-Mans have this, do they? I think they do. And this basically goes right down here, like so. And we'll be putting this on later. We're going to nail it to here with my nail gun. And it's going to go on the bottom here after we paint the cabinet purple. And speaking of paint, I went to Home Depot today, and I picked up some swatches just to kind of see if any of the standard colors were kind of in the ballpark, and they're really not. In the camera here, it looks like they are closer, but they're not. So I don't know what I'm going to do. This one here is kind of in the ballpark. But I'm going to keep grabbing swatches from hardware stores to see if I can find a swatch as a close match. Otherwise, I'm going to have to bring the Pantone book home to match this color, because basically I need to find a color or a swatch that matches this kind of navy blue color, because there's really no way for me to bring the cabinet to the hardware store. So I got to find something I can bring, and I'm trying to... Why isn't it going to test here? That test, the test mode on this game is a little strange, because sometimes it goes into test and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I have to turn it off and turn it on. And I don't know if that's a board issue. I know in general, I've tried getting my MCR games into test, and it doesn't want to do it sometimes. And it's a weird sequence, because when you hit the switch, it's not like instantaneous. It doesn't just go into test. It has to do its thing for a while, and then it'll go into test if the switch is on. So let's see if it goes into test after this. If not, I'm going to turn it off and we'll turn it back on. Is it going to do it? Come on. Journey plays their hit song while Herbie guards the stage from frenzied groupoids who are trying to take the instruments. Such a lame premise for a game, isn't it? So let's see if it goes into test here. What else? Oh, I picked up these. Twisty Wrist Arcade is making new MCR cables, okay? Because the original MCR cables are bad, okay? It's usually the root of a lot of problems with these games. And these MCR ribbon cables are on all the games. I mean, they're on every MCR game. Tron, Tapper, Domino Man, Satan's Hollow, Journey, obviously. There's some NFL game. There's like probably 10 or 15 MCR games, and they all have these ribbon cables that connect the board stack together. Now, what I have on here now, though, is SCSI cables, and CD Jump put SCSI cables on. You can see them right there. SCSI cables work great, but the problem with them is that the connectors are too wide, and they also have 2 rows of pins on top of each other. You know, one's on top and one's on the bottom, and it makes it very confusing when hooking up to the connector on the board. And so I picked these ones up from Twisty Wrist Arcade from Ripter, and I'm gonna put these on my game for one specific reason, though. The SCSI cables are fine, and they're okay in this setup because I don't have the original plates in here right now. And what I mean by that is that the PCB was originally mounted to these plates, okay? And when I got the board from CD Jump, he didn't have the plates. So he told me to, I actually traded him a Tapper PCB for this plus some cash. And he told me to just save my plates, and he'll send me a board without plates, and I can put my plates on his board. But the thing is, the SCSI cables get in the way of the plates. It's actually, see these little nubs here? The SCSI cables will rub into this, and you can't get these plates on. So I'm going to use Ripter's cables, and I won't have any of that problem. We'll cover that in a later video. But anyway, let me just turn the game off and turn it back on and see if it goes into test. I do want to talk about, though, what we're going to do in this video, because today I want to address the monitor, because the monitor is all kinds of wrong. And I think a cap kit is... Now it's not going into test. What is the deal here? It's weird. I don't know if I got bad solder joints on that switch. I mean, I resoldered those. Whatever. I mean, we're not going to mess around with the test switch today, but let's just try it again. So in this video, we're going to address the monitor, because this monitor has a lot of issues, and the geometry is all off. You can see that it's kind of crooked. There's a curl. There's a very distinct curl in here, and those are symptoms that you need a cap kit. I mean, those are very typical symptoms. The curve, the curl, the picture's kind of going like this. You can see it's not a straight line, and it's kind of curving up here and then curving down on this side, and a cap kit, I hope, will fix that. And so I ordered a cap kit from Bob Roberts, and I have it over here. I actually ordered Bob's like super deluxe cap kit, and it has more parts than we're gonna handle today, but it has the cap kit itself. It has a new voltage regulator, a hot and a horizontal width coil, and a fuse. So this is like his super kit. It's like 40 bucks, and it comes with a new flyback, which we don't really need, but I like to have those on hand. I don't think we're going to replace the flyback today. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull the monitor chassis out, and we're going to cap it. And So I'm going to show you guys how to do all of that, and there it is. And this chassis is dirty. I'm going to get my air compressor too and just kind of blow this off. I know you can hose down these monitors, but we're not going to do that. And by the way, this is a G07, okay? It's an Electrohome monitor. It's the G07 CBO, and I'm going to show you guys how to cap a G07. And you know, I've shown how to cap monitors before. I know during the was it the Gyrus restore, I capped a 4900. And so we've never done a G07, so we'll do that today in this video. And I don't think we're gonna replace the flyback. I don't really see a need to right now. I'll have that on hand in case the flyback goes later. And we're also gonna test the B+ voltage on this, and we're probably gonna rejuve the monitor too in this video. Let me see if it went into test yet. You know, it's not going into test. I don't really get how this works. You know, whatever. You know what? I'm not going to worry about that right now. Or should I? You know, I really want to show you guys it in test. And it's not doing it. I know before I shorted the test, and I forgot which... Oh, I shorted the slam switch. That's what it was. I didn't short the... Oh, I remember how I got it to go last time. I jumpered that with a with an alligator clip. Let me see. I think that switch is bad. Where are my alligator clips? Hang on a second. Okay, you can see what I did here. This is the switch for the service switch, and apparently the switch is bad or the solder joints are bad. But I just jumpered it with a wire here. Oh shit! I just jumpered it with a wire, and now it's in test. Okay, so I gotta look at that. That switch is bad or something. But here's the self test. And the game setup menu on MCR games. You can see there's self-diagnostics, diagnostics, sounds, player input, bookkeeping, and you could do all kinds of tests here. But I want to go into the channel test, which tests the different channels of audio, and this will kind of show you guys what's happening. See, it's not playing channel 2. So I'm missing channel 2. And that is a problem with the SSIO board. And CD Jump's going to send me a new one, which is going to fix it, which is lucky for me. And honestly, I don't even know where I would start, you know, to try to fix that. So I'm just grateful and lucky and thankful that CD Jump's going to send me a new board. So yeah, channel 2 is missing. So you guys were right. I was missing sounds. All right, anyway. So enough of that. We're not going to be doing any messing with this anymore today. What I want to do is I want to pull the monitor out. And I don't think actually we're going to pull the entire monitor out. We're just going to pull the frame out. Let me turn the game off. So let me get a tripod and let me get set up here, and we're going to get this monitor chassis off on the G07. Okay, so here is the monitor, and the first thing we need to do is, well, you should unplug the game. And some guys say you should leave it plugged in when you discharge it. I always unplug it. But the first thing we're going to need to do is we need to discharge this monitor. And I've certainly covered this topic many times in my videos. And there's a couple of ways you could do it and a couple different tools you can use. One tool is this, okay? And it's a screwdriver with a wire on it that goes to an alligator clip, okay? And this is probably the most common way to discharge a monitor. And basically, you're going to take this clip and we're going to put it on the frame, okay? And then we're going to short the anode, okay? This is the anode, this little suction cup there and this wire that goes to the flyback. That is the anode. And we're going to short that to ground, which is the frame where our alligator clip is. So that's one way to do it. And this way is okay. It's kind of an abrupt discharge, you know, and some people say that you should have an inline resistor to kind of gradually bleed it off. And some people say it doesn't matter with raster monitors like a G07 or a 4900. And some people say, and I think this is true, you cannot use this method when you're discharging a black and white monitor like a G05 that you're going to find in an Asteroids, you know, stuff like that. In those games, like a black and white vector monitor, you should use an HV probe or have an inline resistor. It's like a 1 mega ohm resistor connected to your it's in line between the screwdriver and the alligator clip on your screwdriver. You can put a 1 mega ohm resistor, or you can use something like this, which is an HV probe. Now this thing is designed to read very high voltages, okay? And there's a ground clip, and then there's little banana plugs here for your multimeter. And so this is also a way to read voltage on the anode, but we're going to use it to discharge the monitor. And this is just really a safer way of doing it. However, I really don't think there's any reason why you can't do it with a screwdriver, especially on a G07. And I have videos showing how to do it that way. But we're going to use this high voltage probe to discharge it. So I have my alligator clip connected to the frame right here, okay? And I'm going to take this and we're going to put it underneath the anode and we're going to discharge it. And we're going to hear a snap when we do this. Now, I want you to have one hand in your pocket, okay? Your left hand, or whatever hand you're not using to hold this, I put that in your pocket because this can really hurt you, okay? This can knock you on your ass. And I want you guys to do more research beyond this video before you do any kind of stuff like this, because this is the most dangerous part of working on the monitor. Now, if you're careful and you're smart, it's really not a big deal. Trust me, it's not a big deal as long as you're smart about it, But just understand, this thing can bite you. This thing can hurt you. This thing will knock you on the floor. And that's really not an exaggeration. I know, because I've been bit by one of these. And it's not fun. And you feel it like in your heart. I mean, this is the kind of shit that gives you a heart attack. So don't mess around with this. Do your homework. Do your research before you attempt this. So, all right, so I've got my ground clip on the frame, okay? And I got one hand in my pocket. I've got, rubber-soled shoes. Don't do this in bare feet, standing in a puddle of water. And we're going to put this underneath here until we get a zap. And sometimes you'll hear, and it just came off there. Sometimes you'll hear a snap. Sometimes you will not, okay? And I'm just kind of putting my hand here. The little anode suction cup came off. And so the monitor is now discharged, okay? Now, we did not get a snap this time. We did not, but it is discharged. And if I wanted to be extra careful here, I can come in with my my screwdriver too and just kind of do it again, and, we got nothing, okay? It's discharged. All right, so that's it. The monitor is discharged, and now we need to take it apart. And the G07s and the 4900s are actually really easy to get the monitor chassis out of the monitor, because this chassis is what we're going to be rebuilding. This is kind of like the PCB of the monitor, and it's only held on with 2 screws, one here and one on the bottom. This thing just slides out. So on a 4900 and a G07, you can leave the monitor in the game. On a Sanyo 20EZ, like you find on Donkey Kong and all the Nintendo cabinets, you're gonna want to take the monitor out of the game and put it on your desk. Trust me when I say this. That is the best way to work on those monitors. That is the best way to remove the chassis, because the chassis on the Sanyo 20EZs and the Sharp XM 2001s and 1801s that you find in Red Tents and Punch-Outs and newer Nintendo games like some of the Versus stuff, you're going to want to pull that monitor out, put it on your desk to remove the chassis. But anyway, G07, 2 screws, and it's going to come right out. So, but before we can remove these screws and get the chassis out, we have to disconnect everything, okay? So we're going to have to remove the neck board, and the neck board has like little pins on it that go into the vacuum tube, and it's just like pins that you find on old vacuum tubes and radios, and I just kind of wiggle it, not too crazily, and that's it. So the neck board's off, and there's our pins, okay? And now we need to disconnect the rest of this stuff. On the neck board is this here, and I think this is for the degaussing circuit, or it's a ground actually. So on the neck board, there's a wire right here, okay? So we need to disconnect that, and that just pulls right off like so, okay? Now, sometimes this wire will be soldered onto the neck board, and you have to cut the wire. That's fine. You can cut it and then put a quick disconnect on for later, but this one has a little pin on it and a little quick disconnect. So we disconnected the neck board. Okay, so let's kind of take a look here. We're going to have to disconnect our video signal from the game, okay, which is right here. Okay, so that's now disconnected. And let's take a poke here. There's going to be wires that go to the yoke, which are, well, there's these wires here that go to the neck. So let's unplug that, okay. And actually, I probably didn't even need to disconnect that because the neck's going to come with me here. And what is going on here? Is this wrapped around the neck? Wait. Oh, look at this. So, I'm trying to make heads or tails of what this is. Oh, okay. So, then these are the yoke wires over here. God, this thing is really dusty. Can you guys see that? And if you're worried about putting it back together, take a photo. But these go to the yoke, which is this thing right here. And that is it. There's a degauze coil wire somewhere. And it's back here. No. What's going on here? This doesn't seem right. Is the degauzing wires soldered directly to the monitor? No, that can't be. I can't see in there. Let me kind of look at it from another angle. So there's some wires back here that are going, looks like, to the degauze circuit. And it feels like they're soldered on. Oh man, did someone hack this up? These should not be soldered on. They totally are. All right, this is interesting, actually. Because there's two wires that are going to the degauzing coil on the monitor, on the tube, and it looks like they're soldered directly to the degauzing circuit, and there's no quick connect. So let me start sliding the chassis out. Let's see if we can figure this out. I might end up pulling this monitor out. All right, so I'm removing the top screw right here, and I want to save these screws. And now I'm going to remove the bottom screw, which is right here. Okay. All right, let me carefully do this here. Just going to rest it on there. Let me get the screws out of the way. Okay, so the monitor chassis is free. But I have to, oh, and also disconnect your power connector, which is right here. Okay. So let's, oh, no, it's not. The degauzing circuit plug is over here. I was looking at it wrong. Okay. Get this out. So the degauzing wires were going to this thing, which I thought was part of the chassis, and it wasn't. It's actually soldered to the frame. And then these are the two leads for that plug into the chassis. So anyway, our chassis is out, and now it is time to cap this bad boy. So let's get set up at the table, and let's get to work. All right, guys, we're all set up, and let's kind of review the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a soldering iron. I use the Weller WTC PT. It's an automatic temperature control one. You don't have to dial up the temperature. I've never had one of those. I don't even know what a good temperature is because I don't need to know because this thing actually does a great job, and the tip here is always the right temperature for me for when I'm doing cap kits. And then also I have this little tip cleaning thing which I love. This is I got this at Amazon. It's a Hacko 599B tip cleaner because when you buy this, it comes with a sponge, which is kind of lame. And this thing, you don't never have to go out and get water, and it's just so much less of a hassle than the sponge, and it does an equally good job, if not better. And it's always here, it's always ready for me, and I don't have to, like I said before, when I had that sponge, I had to keep running in the house and because the sponge would dry out. It's such a pain in the butt. So anyway, Weller TC PT. And then the tip cleaner, you're going to need some solder. Okay, I use, this is lead solder. It's 60-40. It's 60% lead and 40%, I don't know, filler, who knows what else, the tin or something like that. And I use the 1 millimeter diameter, which isn't too thick. It's not too thin. I know some guys out there use really thin stuff, but I like the 1 millimeter. It seems perfect, especially for cap kits. And then you're going to need some kind of solder sucker. I use this. This is the Solder Pullet, and this is my tool of choice for desoldering. I know they make really fancy desoldering guns and stuff, and I've never had the need for it. This tool has never let me down. So anyway, that's all you really need to do this. Now, Bob's kit comes with a little kind of cheat sheet here, and Electrohome G07 CBO 19-inch monitors, and basically he lists all the caps that come in the kit and where they go on the board. He does say the voltages stated above meet or exceed specs for the chassis, but any voltage rating higher than stated is perfectly fine, meaning sometimes he'll substitute caps. So maybe, you know, at C504 we have a 1 UF, 1 microfarad 50 volt. He might include a 75 volt. It's okay it's okay if the voltages on the caps are higher rated than the one you pull out, but you do really need to make sure that the 1 microfarad, the microfarad value is the same. And I'll show you guys, this is the bag of parts, okay? And this is the Super Deluxe kit, so it comes with the horizontal width coil, which is usually bad on the G07s. Comes with an inline fuse, and these are usually bad too. If these fuses blow, the thing about the fuses on the G07 is that it doesn't have a fuse holder. It's soldered to the board with these little pigtails, and that's why his kit comes with this, because a lot of times the G07s will have a blown fuse, and it's very hard to replace that fuse. It's not a matter of just popping it out. You actually have to solder a new one in, and so his kit comes with the one with the pigtails. And also, a lot of times, if this fuse is blown, it usually means your hot or your flyback is bad. That's just from my experience. And so my hot and my flyback are not bad because I'm not blowing this fuse, so we're not even going to touch this fuse. So this will just be something to have spare on hand. It'll definitely come in later. This deluxe kit comes with 2 transistors. One of them, I believe, is a voltage regulator, and the other is the horizontal output transformer. I don't think we're going to replace these either. My monitor works. You know, I'm just trying to correct the geometry stuff. And here's another pigtail kind of inline soldered fuse. And then what's left here beyond that is just the caps, okay? And that's what we're going to replace today. And you can see there's really not that many, so it's really not that hard to do. But you know, if you want to go overboard, you can replace these parts. You know, mine are working. I don't really feel a need to replace these right now, so I'm just going to save these for a rainy day. And, you know, it's good to have this kind of stuff on hand. But right now, my game's working. My monitor's working. It's just that I have some geometry issues, and that's usually these caps, okay? All right, so let's... Actually, I want to turn the light on. It just went off here. Hang on a second. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make sure I save all those parts that we're not going to use. I'm going to dump this stuff out. And maybe we'll just replace those other parts just so I can show you guys how to do it. And so we're just going to dump the caps out. Just make sure none of them fall off the table or anything. But we're just going to kind of keep them in one spot here. And like I said, the G07's kind of not bad. There's actually not that many capacitors at all. And the idea here is pretty simple. We're going to desolder the original capacitor and replace it with a brand new one. And we're basically shotgunning this board. We're shotgunning the caps. We're not testing them. We're not figuring out which one is bad. We are shotgunning it. And that's kind of the principal idea behind a cap kit, is you're just replacing all of the 30-year-old electrolytic capacitors with new ones. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, okay, so I usually don't go down the list. You can. I usually just start grabbing the ones that jump out at me, and I make sure they are on the list too, because you're going to find caps on here that are not on Bob Roberts' list, because those are caps that typically don't go bad or don't really have a function. You know, I don't know why he doesn't include all the caps. Like this giant one right here, this is like a filter cap. That's not on his list, you know, and that's just typical, because these filter caps, I guess, don't go bad. I don't know. I don't know why he doesn't include them, but I never replace them because they're not in the kit, and I've never really had an issue not replacing caps like that. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. But just be aware, though, that some of the caps, you know, before you remove it from the board, make sure it's actually in the kit, okay? So this is the first one that's jumping out at me. And if you look at the board, you're going to see the location, okay? And I'm trying to get in here and look. And this is C3, and sometimes the cap is kind of covering it up, which sucks, but looks like 302. Let's look on here. Yeah, there is a 302, and it's a 220 UF, 25 volt. Let me see if I can read that. And just make sure that, you know, like I said, before you remove the cap, that it's actually in the kit. And this is a 220 16 volt 220 UF. Yep, and that's what C302 is he includes a 220 UF 25 volt. The one that's actually on here is a 220 UF 16 volt, that's fine. So, okay, so we're gonna first desolder this one right here. And what I do is actually, what's nice on the G07, it's actually labeled on the bottom too, and it says C302. And so I'm gonna come over here, I'm just gonna turn this upside down, and we gotta grab, it looks like these two legs right here, okay? I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm gonna come in here with my soldering iron, and if I can get this thing to kind of stay. And what I usually do is I add some new solder first, okay? And let's see if we can kind of get in a little close here so you guys can really see me doing this. And the one we're doing is right here. So let's get that in the camera. Okay, so you can see it's labeled C302. Okay, and then what I do usually first is I add some solder to the old solder, because this solder is really old and it doesn't want to flow. And if you add some new solder to it, it's going to help it flow and just kind of fall off really easily. And then I'm going to take my solder pullet and I'm going to come in here and heat this up, and then come in here and look at that. Look at how clean that is. So you can see that solder came right off, and this capacitor is going to fall right out. And then I come on the other side with my hand and I just kind of wiggle it out. Sometimes you kind of have to. Sometimes there'll just be like little ounces of solder left that are just kind of holding the capacitor to the board. And that's it. So we removed one of the capacitors. And so here's the one we removed. And again, it's a C302. And you'll notice on the board that it says positive, okay? Because the capacitors have polarity. And it's very important you understand that, okay? And so the positive leg goes on the left right here where the plus sign is, okay? And if we look on the other side of the board where we removed it, okay, there's a little, see that little black mark right there? Okay, that's where the negative band's gonna go, okay? And if you look at a capacitor, let's get the new one actually. So this is C302, and that's a 220 UF 25 volt. So let's find that one. And by the way, you're gonna notice that the size of the capacitors is the new ones are gonna be smaller usually than the ones you pulled out. So you can't just look for the one that's the same size always, because the technology gets smaller as time goes by. So I need a 2200 UF 25 volt, which is what I removed. 2200. No, this says 220 UF. Wait a second. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. C302 is 220 UF. Okay, so don't mix them up. It's really easy to mix them up too. I found, you might pull a 220 UF and you grab the 2200 UF. It's not hard to do that either. This is a 1 microfarad. So you just gotta kind of fish for these things. You guys, let's see. 1 UF, 10 UF. Here it is, 220 UF. Okay, so C302, 220 UF, 25 volt. And so here's our new one. And you can see it says 220 UF, 25 volt, and the one we pulled out. Again, I'm being a little anal here, but I always just double check my work before I put them in. The one I removed was 220 UF 16. I'm gonna replace it with a 25, which is okay, because that's what Bob Roberts' instructions say. Okay, so again, let's go back to the board. And so here's where we removed it, and you can see that little black mark there in one of the holes. That's where the negative lead goes. And if you look at the capacitor, it has a stripe on it, okay? See that? This side has a stripe, and that's the negative lead. And if you also look at this, you'll notice that one lead on the capacitor is longer than the other. The longer lead is positive, okay? The longer lead is positive, the shorter leg is negative, and negative also has the stripe on the cap. So I'm gonna come in here, and I'm gonna put my stripe in line with the little mark on the board, and then if I turn this over, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. Or am I? Let's see here. Sometimes that little mark there is positive. No, it's negative. Oh, great. This board is labeled wrong. I can see it right now. Look at negative goes... Yeah, negative does go to the mark. Did I just pull out a one that was labeled wrong? C302, because if I turn this over... Oh, no, it's right. Yeah, okay. Yep. Sorry. False alarm. No, it's not right. God damn it. All right, so... It looks like this is silkscreen wrong, because the negative... It says negative goes through here on this side, but on the reverse side, it says that should be positive. Actually, I could tell already it's positive, but I could deduce here that that is labeled wrong. Because this is a ground plane right here. And I'm just trying to see if negative goes, if anywhere else negative dumps. So this leg here is going to this plane that's going everywhere, and I'm pretty sure that's a ground plane. Yeah, I think it is. So, what did we just learn? We learned that these boards can be marked wrong. And here's one that is marked wrong. C302 is marked wrong. I'm actually going to quickly research this on the internet and be right back. Okay, I just actually went online and I Googled G07 C302 labeled incorrectly, and sure enough, I found an article on Bob Roberts' website stating that C302 is labeled incorrectly on the bottom of the board, okay? And so, yeah, we just discovered something. So, it's interesting, that's the first one we grabbed. So, on the top of the board, it says that that is negative. That means our stripe goes in that hole, okay? The leg with the stripe goes in that hole. But on the bottom, it says that that is positive, and that is in fact wrong, okay? There's a little plus there. That's wrong, okay? All right, so we're just going to kind of spread those legs out. That's how I do it. And we're going to solder that guy on there. Kind of get in here so you guys can see me soldering. See if we can get some focus on that. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and just going to... And when you solder, you just want to heat up the part, touching the pad and the leg, and then just come in here with your solder. It doesn't take much, and then just kind of lift up after you apply it. Okay, so that's soldered on. And I always clip my leads after, at the very end. And there's a reason for that, because if you get to the end and you realize you screwed something up, and you put one cap in the wrong spot and you have to reverse them and swap them back, having the lead still here is easy. It allows you to easily do that. So, okay, so we have our first cap in. So I'll do a couple more with you guys, and then and that one's soldered in. So let's do the next one, which is labeled C. Holy crap! It's labeled C5. Boy, that scared me, man. It is really raining out there. All right, so C520, and let's look on our sheet and make sure that's in the kit. And C520 it should be a 3.3 UF, 50 volt, and it says BP, which is bipolar. That means that one doesn't have a stripe, okay? It means you could put it in any way you want. It doesn't have polarity, which the other one that we just did. And let me just double check what that is on here. Yeah, it's a 3.3 UF. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove that one. That's C520, and it's right there. Okay. So, you know, doing cap kits, not really hard. Time consuming. G07s are pretty easy to do. There's not a lot of caps, you know, so it doesn't take nearly as long. But a cap kit, you know, as cliche as they are, they actually solve a lot of problems. So I just added some new solder on there. Now I'm going to come in here with my sucker and desolder. Okay. And now I come on the other side. Oh, it just fell right out. Okay. And let's just double check what it is. And it is it's a 50 volt 3.3 UF. And if we look at our sheet here, the sheet calls that a 3.3 UF 50 volt. Yep, that's the right one. Okay, so let's find the cap that we need, which is right here. And it's 3.3 UF, 50 volt. It says NP on it, meaning I guess non-polarized. So you can put this in any way you want, left or right, upside or downside, whatever. It doesn't matter with the non-polarized ones. Okay, so we just stick it in like so, and we turn our board over. I always bend the legs back a little bit. I know some guys frown on that, but I find it to be the easiest way. They say it's harder to get the parts out later if you bend the legs back. But hey, it's how I roll. Okay, and I'm just heating up the leg and the solder pad, and then applying a little bit of solder, just a dab of solder, and then kind of lifting the soldering iron up. So, all right, so we've got 2 in. So let's just keep going. I'll do a couple more with you guys, and then I'll do the rest on my own, because it's really just rinse and repeat. Okay, so this one right here is C301. Let's look at our sheet to make sure that's in the kit. It is. It's a 3.0. Oh, that's another one of those bipolar. Let's do a different one. Let's do this one right here, C905. C905 is a 10 UF, 250 volts. So yeah, C905 is this bigger one right here. So let's go ahead and grab that one off. And I usually keep my hand on the cap when I turn the board over. It kind of helps you figure out where it is, and it's right here because your finger's on it. And so it's this guy right here. All right. So I'm going to come in, kind of try to get a little bit close here to really show you what's going on. Okay, so it's that one right there. C905, so we're just going to add some new solder. And, you know, adding new solder really does make a difference. It just desolders so much easier if you've got new solder on there. I'm going to come in with my solder pullet. Okay, I'm going to come on the other side with my hand and just kind of wiggle it out. Okay, and it's out. So there we go. That's a 10 UF 250 volt. And again, I always just kind of double check everything. C905. And we're going to look on the chart. Yep, C905, 10 UF 250 volts. So let's find the replacement cap. That's 47 UF. Duh, it's right here. It was one of them. It was taped together. Feels stupid. Anyway, it's here. 10 UF 250 volts. So we got to pull it off this tape. As soon as I turned the camera off, I found it. Okay, so you got to remove the tape. And again, that little black mark, there's 2 holes, right, for the cap. The one with the little black circle is where the negative goes. And we look at our cap, we have a stripe, which is negative. So I'm going to put the stripe lined up with the circle that's on the board. And I'm going to turn it over. And you can see the longer leg here is labeled positive on the bottom. So that's correct. So that first cap we did was not correct. So again, you can't always trust the silk screening, and that's what the internet's good for. Because believe me, if you find something like that, you know, 20 guys have discussed this on the internet, and you can usually figure it out just by Googling it. So, all right, so let's get in here. All right, so I'm going to do this one with you guys, and then we're probably going to, and I'll probably do the rest of them on my own. Okay, so. And I'm just heating up the pad and the lead of the capacitor, throwing a little solder on there and just kind of lifting up. And when you're done, you're going to have like a little cone. That looks good. That one looks like it's a little too soldery. I don't like how it looks. And don't be afraid to redo your work. I redo it all the time. Okay, that looks way better. Okay, so we've got that in. So now we've done 3 of them. And I'm going to keep going and do the rest of them. And really, it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back here. And I have replaced all of the caps that I can see, okay? And I just went one by one, being very careful about what I was doing, making sure I was double-checking what I was removing matches what I put in, and also being sure about the polarity, making sure that my stripe, my negative stripe on each cap lined up with the little round circle on the board. However, I've got 4 caps left, okay, and where are they, right? I mean, I replaced all the ones I can see. Well, actually, there's this little shield right here, okay, and you can see there's a cap right there, and I think there's more caps underneath here, maybe a couple more, and we need to take this shield off, and I just wanted to show you guys this because this is a little different than just removing the caps, and not much different, though, but if we look on the back here, okay, the shield is held on, with at least one tab. There's a tab right here. I'm trying to see where else it's held on. Looks like there's a couple tabs, maybe one right here and one right there. So we just need to desolder these, looks like these 3. No, there's one right here. This tab and that tab. And the shield should come off, revealing those caps. So let's go ahead and do that. And again, this is really no different than the caps that we've done already. It's just that, might require a little more heat because they're kind of some big chunks of metal, basically, that are soldered onto the board. And, okay, so let's take a look here. So we got one right here. I think there's just 2. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to throw some solder on those little tabs first, just as we've always done. And this is definitely the best way to desolder, Throw some solder on first, and then remove it. It looks like the other one is right here. So I've been working on getting a cassette interface board for the Journey, and I got a lead on one. The guy's checking to see if it works. And because I know in the previous videos I was talking about using an Arduino with an MP3 shield and kind of coming up with a modern solution. And actually, you want to hear something funny? I actually emailed Ben Heck just for the hell of it. Because I said, Ben, if you want to help me, maybe we can collaborate. I don't know. It was a shot in the dark. I'm actually a big fan of Ben Heck. And so I sent him an email just telling him what I wanted to do and if he could help me or if he has some ideas for me and whatever. I haven't heard back and probably won't. I don't know. But I love Ben Heck. You guys ever watch the Ben Heck show? We got to straighten these tabs up, by the way. They're like bent. Ben Heck does a good job. If you guys like my videos, you got to watch his too because he does a lot of electronics. Not so much arcade stuff. He does dabble in pinball. There we go. He's done some arcade stuff, does a lot of console stuff. He just does general electronics and very informative. And if you like my videos, definitely seek out Ben Heck. But anyway, I emailed him. I asked him if he wanted to give me a hand coming up with a solution to use an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi or something modern to replace the cassette board. But it looks like I might be getting one, so stay tuned. Anyway, okay, we got the shield off. And we just basically had to desolder it. And under the shield was 3 caps. So there's 3 right there. So you definitely got to take that shield off. So I'm going to go ahead and replace these 3 caps, and then we are done. So I'll be right back. I'm going to do those. And again, no different than the other ones we've done so far. Okay, we're done. I've replaced all the caps on here. I have to put the shield back on, this guy. I do have 2 caps left over, okay? And one of them is for the neck board at C107, so I'll do that one real quick. And the neck board, of course, is this board right here. It's this cap right here. So we'll replace that. No big deal. And then the other one that's left over right here, Bob actually has a note here, okay? And it's this one. It's C303, see below. And this is an upgrade, okay? And it says here, this upgrade is to make the sync compatible with game boards of the late 80s and later, okay? Now, I'm not going to do this mod because my board isn't that, and I didn't have any kind of curl issues. This mod basically has you removing a capacitor and throwing it out, and then you're going to remove C303 and place it in the hole. So basically, you're going to pull a part out, and then you're going to remove C303 and place it in the holes for C501. I think you're basically installing a jumper and then this capacitor. And I've done this mod before. What did I do it? I think I did it on my Frogger because I had a curl problem. But we don't really have that issue, I don't think, with the Journey. I'm not even going to mess around with this. This is an optional mod, and I don't really see a need to do it, so we're not going to do this. But I am going to put the shield back on, and we'll replace that cap that's on the neck board, because that we definitely want to do. And so let's put this shield back on. And this is some kind of RF shield or something. I don't really know the purpose of it, but it looks like it goes right like so. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and just basically twist these, because when I pulled it off I had to twist the tabs to get it free, and I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna twist them a little bit. There's one, and here's the other right here. Okay, so let's just go ahead now and just throw some solder on those tabs, and just kind of solder that shield back on there. No big deal. Okay, so that's back on. And then again, the last cap is on the neck board, and it's right here. And there's this piece of cardboard protective. There's kind of they put this cardboard on here so that you can't bump this when the game is on and shock yourself. So I'm just gonna fold this back a little bit. I mean, I could totally remove it, but I'm just gonna fold it back. And this cap is right here. Now, the polarity on this is not marked, so you gotta pay attention. So negative is towards the center of the board. Okay, so just let's remember that. And it's C107. So let's go ahead, throw some solder on here. And this is our last cap in the kit. There's not a lot of caps in this kit, but it probably took me, I would say a good hour and a half maybe to do all these. It's kind of slow going. Not hard, this is just time consuming. And once you get in the groove of it, you can kind of clip along. Alright, so let's get this guy out of here. Okay, again, negative is towards the center. It's marked on the top and not on the bottom. Okay, and this is a 10 UF 250 volt. And Bob supplied me with that. So let's kind of, excuse me, let's get this in here. 10 UF, 250 volt. Bend these guys back. Okay. All right, so we're done capping. Now it's time to trim our leads. Before we do that, though, I want to double check my work. So this one here, negative was towards the center, and that's what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and clip these ones off. I haven't clipped any of their legs off, and this is just kind of how I do it. It's, you can clip them as you go, but I prefer it this way because if I catch a mistake, it's easy to undo. And when you trim the leads off these caps, you want to trim them just above the solder. You do not want to cut that solder at all. Okay, so that neck board's done. Okay, so what I do now usually is I grab a Sharpie, okay? And let me see if I can find one. I know I had one over here. Oh, here we go. Okay. And what I normally do now is I go through every cap and I make sure I have the polarity correct. Okay, I make sure that they're not in backwards. And I get a little light and I just kind of get in there and I check each one by one. And I always do this. I think this is the smartest way to do it. And you just use a light and get in there and see the polarity. Actually, I'm going to use this. Look at these tweezers. Etienne in the Netherlands sent me these. He saw in my last video that I needed tweezers, and he asked for my address, and he sent me some LED tweezers. How cool is that? But I'm going to use them for the light right now. So Etienne, if you're watching this video, thank you very much for these tweezers. They're freaking awesome. And this light is super handy. And I'm going to use this light to kind of get in there and figure out, just so I could see the markings. All right, so this one is incorrect. It is, and by the way, this happened before in my last video when I said it was incorrect. I'm not saying incorrect. This one is in the board correctly, okay? So, mind you, when I'm saying this one is incorrect, I'm saying that's two words there. It's not one word, okay? This one is in the board correctly. I got the negative to the negative. This one is non-polarized, no big deal. This one here is incorrectly. This one is correct. Okay, so all those are right. And I'm just going through each cap here, making sure that none of them are in backwards, okay? And I'm marking them on the top with a marker as I go along, so I know I checked them. This one, the polarity is correct. This one, the polarity is correct. And just trust me, man, this is well worth the extra 5 minutes of your life. Because if you put this board in and the caps are backwards, and the cap doesn't pop, it doesn't explode, man, you are going to be fishing around trying to figure out what you did forever. So you're better off, oh shit, all these in here I can't check because I put the lid over it. But all of these are all correct. Am I missing any? I'm not. The ones in here though I can still check because I can check the positive on the back side of the board to the long leg. Okay, here's one right here I didn't check. All right, that one is correct. All right, so that's okay. So all these are all in the correct way. They're not backwards. And let's go on the back side here because these were the ones that I just did. These were under the shield. So that's positive, long leg. That's positive, long leg. That's positive, long leg. So, okay. So I feel good here. I've double-checked all of my work. None of the caps are in backwards. So now I can safely trim all of the leads off. And I'm just going to take my side cutters here. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim them all. Again, I'm cutting above the solder. Don't cut the solder, cut the lead. And if you cut the solder, you're going to be getting yourself into some trouble. So just cut above the solder, cut the lead only. And just go one by one and trim them all back. And you just want to be just a smidge above the solder. You don't want it to be too much taller than the solder. And make sure these legs, as you cut them, that they don't stay on here because you can get a short. What I usually do is shake the board. Okay. And I'm just going through here, cutting them all down. Just one by one. Okay, I have cut all of the leads off, and you might want to take your hand and just kind of rub it across just to make sure you didn't miss any. And I don't think I did. They're all cut. And so we're done with the cap kit. Now, let's talk about something here. Something I noticed. This right here is the horizontal width coil, okay? And it's supposed to look like this with a plastic top. Look at that. It's gone. This horizontal width coil is busted. It is broken. And I bet you this is why our screen was incredibly curvy and out of whack. I bet you this was a major contributor to that. and we're going to replace it. And thankfully, I ordered the Bob Roberts Deluxe Kit, and we can do just that because I have the new part. But you know what? This thing is, look at that. So I don't know what happened here, but this thing is totally busted, and you know what? This is absolutely why, or a big contributor to why that screen was so messed up. I didn't notice that until I was kind of into it, capping this thing, but let's get that thing off. We've got 4 leads right here, okay, that we're going to have to desolder. And these horizontal width caps are kind of notorious for going bad on G07s. And that's why Bob Roberts' kit includes them. And the horizontal width coil is exactly as it sounds. It is a variable resistor that you adjust with a non-conductive plastic Allen screw, okay, Allen key, that you will find in those TV adjustment tools. If you use metal, I think you can get shocked or it'll get very hot. And so you're supposed to use plastic to adjust it, and I'll kind of show you, where's the part again? So you see in here, in there, you're supposed to stick a plastic Allen wrench in there and turn that to adjust the width. And it's basically a knob or a pot, no different than the other pots on the board, except this one requires a very special tool to go inside there, and you turn that, and that's how you adjust the width, the horizontal width of the pitcher. And a lot of times on these G07s, this thing will be stuck, rotted, dried out, and you cannot adjust it. And this thing will just be plain seized or whatever, and that's why Bob includes it in the kit, because these are very often broken, just like it is on mine right here. And so it's a good reason to order the deluxe kit, because you don't know what you're going to find till you get into it. And I had no idea that horizontal coil was bad till I took the chassis out, you know. And thankfully, I did order the deluxe kit because I had the part. And he charges about $40 for that super deluxe kit, and that comes with the flyback too. The majority of the cost is the flyback. You can order it without the flyback, but I didn't have any G07 flybacks, and I always like to have flybacks on hand, because it is a part that tends to just kind of go abruptly. And if you have it on hand, it's just super handy to just have less downtime. Just go to your drawer and replace the flyback, and you'll be playing a game, and all of a sudden you'll hear like this thud or this crack, and it's the flyback going. Usually they go kind of abruptly and they crack. So it looks like it's just these 4 tabs here holding this thing in. And I believe that this thing can only go on one way. I know I've replaced one of these before. I think it's pretty straightforward. Come right out now. Okay, so that's what's left of the original width coil. So all right, let's get the new one. And where did this go? And the new one here has a big glob of solder on it too. I'm just going to smooth this out. It's like they solder the copper leads to it. Okay, where did I pull that part from? Oh, over here. Okay. So it only goes in one way here. Must be this way. Yeah, you can't get it in that way. Oh, there's 2 different size legs? Is that right? Yeah, there are. There's small and there's big. Huh. I'm just trying to figure out how exactly this goes on. It's got to go like this. Yeah, on the board it shows the winding is on that side, and the winding is on these two leads here. But there's so much solder on this thing, it doesn't want to go in. Did I get a used one? I don't think so. This thing is just globbed up with solder. It's kind of weird. Just trying to clean the solder off, or just smooth it out so it'll go in. Try it this way. Okay. There we go. Just gotta apply some heat. So we're done. We have replaced all the caps, and the one last thing I want to do is I want to reflow headers. While we have this out, we might as well do this. It's definitely not going to hurt anything. And when I say headers, we're going to reflow basically all these little pins that where connectors go to. Okay, and just kind of double checking my width coil still. I'm kind of doubting my work there, but I think it's okay. So I want to reflow the headers, and we've got some big ones over here. We've got a bunch of headers. God, that's ugly. We've got some here. Where are the other ones? Video is over here. Okay, those ones. So let's go ahead, and all I'm going to do is just basically heat up the old solder and add new, and that's it. That's, when people say reflow the headers, that's all they mean, basically. Now you can remove all the old solder. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's just heat up the old and add a little new, and that way if there's a cracked solder joint, or maybe down the road there will be a cracked solder joint, this is kind of some preventative maintenance, just to kind of freshen up some of the most critical solder joints, and the ones that kind of get stressed the most from connectors, and because we're kind of manhandling this stuff right now, connecting, disconnecting, and this is going to just kind of freshen them up. And these guys are monsters here, man. Okay, not sure if this is. reflowed all the solder on the neck board. So the one thing I want to do real quick is I want to just kind of clean this up a little bit. And I'm going to use my little air compressor and just kind of blow all the dust off of this thing. There's other ways you can clean these boards. You could hose them off. I never do that. You know, water and it's probably perfectly fine if I were to hose this off and let it sit in the sun for a day and use some alcohol to kind of, you know, displace the water. It's probably fine, but I always just use compressed air. So I'm just go ahead and blow this off. All right, guys, I blew off the tube here like you guys saw, and then also the chassis, and everything's clean. As clean as it's gonna get, and it actually looks a lot better. And I'm gonna come in later here and, you know, simple green all this, and we'll clean that up real nice later. So let's get the chassis, and let's throw it in, and let's power it up and see what happens. And, you know, putting this in is really no different than taking it out, just the opposite. So we're gonna come in here. And what I want to do first is basically just screw this guy back in. Just like so. Okay. And it's just 2 screws that hold it in. Okay. Damn it, I need my screwdriver. Alright, I got the first one started there. Let me just get my cordless screwdriver. Okay, there's one, and then the second one's on the bottom. Oh, fuck. In the last video, I made a comment that I wanted a magnetic bit, and all you guys told me how to make a magnetic bit by rubbing my bits along a magnet. So I appreciate the little tip, and I guess I need to buy a magnet. So can I go to like a magnet store? Where do you buy a big magnet these days? All right, so that's it. The chassis is back in, so now we need to make our connections. And, okay, so we're just going to do everything the opposite. We took it off, so the neck board's going to go on like so. Actually, there's a ground wire for the neck board. It goes on like this. Okay. All right. And then the neck board can only go on one way. It has like a key on it. And we're just going to push it on. It goes all the way on. Okay. And then our anode, I'm going to do that last. Let's get it out of the way though. Our power connection needs to happen, so I'm doing that over here. Okay, and then this guy, let's see. Where does this go? Can't really see what I'm doing here. So there's a bunch of pins over here for this one. And these are the yoke wires. This only goes on one way. It's not that way. It goes on like this. Alright. Okay. And this one here goes it's right here. Am I putting that on backwards? No, I'm not. Okay. And then we need our degaussing wires, which are these two right here. And they're gonna plug in right here and here. Okay. So we're just basically just redoing what we undid. We need to make our video connection, which are these right here. And okay. And that's it. Right? Yeah, that's all the connections. So the only thing left is the anode cup. And I'm going to be safe. And I'm going to discharge it one more time before I put my hand on it. Because that suction cup is going to go over here. So I'm going to take my discharging tool. And I'm going to put the alligator clip on ground. And we're just going to go like that. And just being overly cautious here because I don't want to get shocked. Even if it's a little bite, I don't want it. Because there's, you know, that anode has been off that for a while, but... Okay, so there's these little rabbit ears right there, and they go to the left and the right of that hole. This camera, so I can get in here. I usually bend the suction cup back so I can see what I'm doing. There, okay, it's out. Okay, so let's kind of double check our work. This is on good. That's good. Looking at all my connections. We are going to check the B+, which... I gotta find that pot. It's right there. If we have to adjust it, it's that one. Okay, we're ready to turn it on. Okay, let's do it. Let me get the plug. You know, no matter how many times I do this, I am nervous. I'm always nervous after a cap kit, you know. It's just that you took the whole damn thing apart, and you hope you put it back together the right way. And I'm just kind of double checking my work here as I'm talking to you guys. So we've got that plugged in, the decons, the monitor, the neck board. All right, here we go. I'm plugging it in. All right, nothing's happening yet because the interlock switch is in. Okay. Okay, do we have neck glow? Can't really tell. I don't think I heard the monitor turn on. Maybe I'm wrong. So let's go to the front and see what's going on. I think we have neck glow. Yeah, we have neck glow. All right, let's go to the front. Doom, 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 doom. All right, good. Look at that. And the picture straightened out. Huh? Sweet. So that was a success. That was a real success. Our picture's all straight. All those curls are gone. I'm going to spend a little time adjusting it, but convergence is a little off here. Sweet. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to test the B+ to make sure that everything's dialed in right, and then we're going to spend some time adjusting the monitor. Okay guys, after you do the cap kit, it's a good idea to check the B plus on a G07. And it's actually not that hard to do. And the B plus is kind of like the power supply voltage. You know, the monitor here has like its own power supply, and the voltage it puts out is called B plus. And on a G07, you want the voltage to be at 120 volts DC. And if it's any higher or lower, the picture is going to be wrong. The picture will be too small, too big. It could be out of focus. It could be just hard to adjust. So it's really a good idea to check the B plus, and again, it's not hard to do. So the first thing you want to do is turn the game off. The game has to be completely off before you hook up your leads. And what you need to do, and I'm going to get a couple alligator clips here. So I'm going to use 2 alligator clips with wires on them. You can buy these anywhere, and we're going to use these as test leads, okay? And it's kind of tricky to get to, but if you can see in here, do you guys see that resistor right here? Again, the monitor is off, okay? There's this ceramic resistor right here, okay? And you want to put your positive lead of the meter on the lead that is closest to the tube, okay? Do you see this one right here? Again, the game is off. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to use, I have white, so I'm just going to use white for positive, and we're going to clip it right there on that rear lead. You see that? Make sure it's touching nothing but the lead. Okay, so I got an alligator clip on the rear lead. That's going to be our positive wire. So just keep track of what you're doing. So I've got white for positive, okay? Now let me get another lead, okay? I'm going to take my black one here, and I'm going to clip it to the frame, the monitor frame, right up here, okay? And that's going to be our ground, okay? And you just want to clip it basically on metal. And so let's just go right here, okay? So I've got that there. Then you want to take your multimeter and you want to put it on DC volts, okay? DC, because we're measuring DC voltage. And we want to, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure it is or get it to 120 volts DC. And let me see if I can put this somewhere where you guys can see it. Is that going to work? I think so. Let me just kind of come down here a little bit. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to take the leads of my meter, okay, and I'm going to put the white one on my red one, okay. So now I'm measuring directly from that back lead on the resistor, okay. And I'm going to take my black one and put it on my black lead on my meter, okay. And you're going to let these hang down, but just make sure they're not touching anything, and especially not each other, okay. So I've just got them kind of hanging down here. And let me kind of show you. So you can see, they're just hanging down there like this, right? But they're not touching anything, and they're not touching each other, so that's okay. All right, so now we're going to turn the monitor on, okay? All right, and just be careful again that these leads aren't touching anything or each other, and we're going to turn it on, and we're going to watch our meter, okay? And it's at 116 volts. It is low, okay? So you guys can see, it's at 116.7. It's supposed to be 120 volts, okay? Now, there is a B plus adjustment pot, and it's not that hard to get to, but you got to be careful that you don't shock the hell out of yourself. Let me show you where it is, okay? It's right, if you guys can see this, let me zoom in here. It's right here. You guys can see it. See if I can get my camera on it. It's right here. Okay, see that pot right there? That's the B plus adjustment pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here very carefully with my adjustment tool. Okay, and I'm just snaking it through here. Again, I'm using TV adjustment tools, and I'm going to get it on there. Okay, it's on. Now I'm going to watch my meter. Okay, and I'm going to turn this till I get my voltage to 120 volts. Okay, there it is. It's at 120.4. Okay, let's see. It's at 120.4. That's pretty good. Let me see if I can just adjust it down just a hair. Get it right at 120. See, this meter, though, is super sensitive. I mean, it goes to like 2 decimal points. That's too high. There, look at that. Dead nuts on. 120.1. Okay, so we've now adjusted our B+. Perfect. Okay, so let me turn the game off now. All right, so I'm going to take my leads off. Let's zoom back out. And that's it. We've just adjusted our B+, and so now we know that the voltage, the B+ voltage, you know, the B+ power supply on the monitor is perfect. So now when we start adjusting the monitor, we won't be fighting that, okay? And you really need to adjust that B+. Otherwise, it's very hard to get a good picture. Things don't want to scale correctly. Things might not want to get into focus. And yeah, so it's a good thing to do, and it's not hard at all. So, okay, so we've got that. So now I want to adjust my picture, okay? And what I'm going to do, let's go to the front. I'm going to turn the game back on. Okay, so everything's disconnected. So let's go back to the front of the game here, and I want to look at the picture. And let's come up with a plan of attack here. And I've got the game on test, okay? And some games have a test mode where you can put a grid on the screen, and we're going to do that with this game. And you really should let the game warm up a little bit before you do this. And I think I'm going to do that actually. Let's let the monitor warm up for like 5 minutes, and I'll come back. Because you really should adjust it when it's, you know, when it's warmed up. You know, when you turn the monitor on for the first time, you know, things start fixing themselves as it's on longer or changing. So it's a good idea to let it warm up. So I'm going to let this sit here for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to make our adjustments. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and put it on grid display. And again, you can't do this on every game. Not every game has this grid, but Journey does, so I'm going to use it. So you can see the picture is way too far to the left. It looks like I need to kind of shrink the whole. Now, one thing to point out here too, this is a vertical oriented monitor, okay? However, the controls are under the assumption that it's mounted horizontally, okay? Even though this is a vertical orientation, this right here, okay, this right here is horizontal size. It's not vertical size, okay? And this right here is vertical size, okay? Keep that in mind when we're making our adjustments. So if I want to make this picture shorter, okay, I'm going to adjust the vertical size, all right? And we're going to do that right now, actually. I'm going to do that first. We need to adjust the horizontal, the vertical position, so this is over to the right more. I can see we've got some convergence issues up in here. Actually, convergence issues across the board. But first, let's adjust this down so we can see all of the grid. And we're going to do that with the horizontal width coil. Now, you guys remember we replaced that, okay? And the horizontal width coil is right here. See that guy right there? And we're going to adjust that. Now, the thing to keep in mind with the horizontal width coil, what's inside there is like an Allen screw or nut, whatever you want to call it, and you cannot put a metal Allen key in there. You will get shocked, you will get hurt, you will get burnt. Don't do it. You need to use a plastic Allen key, okay? And you can get one of these in those TV adjustment tools. Radio Shack used to sell them. You can get them on Amazon. So what I'm going to do, and you got to do this when the monitor's on. You could do it when the monitor's off, but I'm going to carefully come in here, and I'm just being very careful that I'm not touching anything, okay? And we're going to adjust our horizontal width, and I'm going to turn this down. Left should make it smaller. I'm just turning it left. I think, right? Left. Yeah, I think so. Let's come to the front and let's take a look. And did we make it bigger? Let me get my mirror actually while I do this so I can see what's happening. So I'm going to keep one hand back here. Let me grab my mirror. Where is it? Okay. Getting my mirror. Hang on. And so I always take a mirror and I hold it to the front of the cabinet so I can see what's happening when I'm making these adjustments. And carefully, so I've got the mirror in the left hand. I didn't like how that sounded. Okay, right is actually making it smaller. The thing about the horizontal width coil is that it's microscopic adjustments. It doesn't really go crazy. I'm like scared in here. I'm taking my ring off. This is kind of, I feel like I'm bumping into stuff. And I'm turning it to the right, and that's actually making it smaller. Let me take a look at the front here. And Boy, I can't really tell what's happening. Let me look at the bottom. Is this making it smaller or bigger? Yeah, it's making it smaller. So I'm just turning and watching. Okay, I think I got, you know, hang on here a second. I'm having a hard time telling what's happening. Yeah, it's making it smaller. But my lines are not. Okay, so the grid's on the whole screen here. And that's pretty good. Okay, so let me show you guys what the end result here is. I don't like how the grid looks, but I have the whole grid on the screen, I think. Is this the end of it? I'm not enlarging it, am I, John? I don't think so. Yeah, I could see that. So this is the end of the grid right here. Okay, so I've got the top and the bottom of the grid on the screen. Now we got to move it to the right, okay? I got to move the picture to the right. So let's go back here and let's look at our adjustments over here. Okay. And I'm going to see if I can read them. Let me get a light. Okay, so this one here is this far right one is horizontal. Actually, there's two jumpers here. I'm going to turn the monitor off real quick, and I'm going to put these jumpers in the middle. I should have done that before I started. These jumpers is for horizontal position, horizontal center, left and right, and then vertical center, left, right, center. And you want to put these jumpers in the middle before you make your adjustments. I'm going to turn the game back on. And I just want to come to the front here and see how it looks any different. I'm going to put it back in grid display. Okay, yeah. That actually centered it more. Okay, so I want to move this to the left more, okay? And I'm going to take my mirror again, and I'm going to hold it up front. And I'm going to start turning these pots and see what happens when I do. This one's horizontal frequency. Let's see what this one does. I wish I could show you guys both of these. Okay, so that. Okay. That one, let's do this one right here. This one is horizontal position, okay. I'm sorry, vertical position. So let's, oh, that's vertical size. Okay, let's see how that looks. Looks okay. Where did my tool go? Okay, so this next one here, let me see what this one does. Yeah, I know I should probably be reading them, but take a look. And this one is what? This should be the position. Yeah, it is. No, that's the hold. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the front and tell me what you guys think of this. So adjusting these monitors is God, I don't like it at all, actually. Got a bit of a curl here. And I feel like this picture needs to come down. So let me go in the back and I'm going to adjust that real quick, and I'll show you guys as it's moving. This grid is kind of goofy because, let's go back here. I'll keep it on the monitor as I adjust it. Just watch that bottom part. Okay, so that's not the one I need. And a lot of times these grids, you can use them as a guide like I am right now, but you might find it's better and easier to adjust it when the game is on. I still gotta fill up that left side there. That looks pretty centered. Yeah, it does. I want to make it a little bit wider. Should be that one. That's too wide. That looks pretty good. That's about right. I want to move the picture down. I think it's this one. And these come up. So this thing's got the nasty G07 curl. Needs to come up. Pretty good. Shit, needs to come up more. So this is just trial and error here, and sometimes I'll spend a lot more time than I am right now doing this. I'm not really fond of how this is looking here. I'm curious how it looks with the game on. Let's turn the game on and take a look. Actually, before I do that, I want to converge the monitor a little bit. And let me show you guys here. If you zoom in real quick, click close. See how the red, see white is made up from all three guns, okay? And you can see that the red, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if we can get some focus here. The red is too low, and it looks like the blue is too high, and we want to line those all up so we get a nice solid white line. And let me show you how to do that. And again, this is trial and error, so I don't, hopefully I'm explaining this okay for you guys. But to adjust, I don't think I've ever done a monitor adjustment thing on video. To adjust how the guns line up, you want to move these tabs here. This is how you converge it. These are the convergence rings, and these move, okay? And you just need to watch it, and there's actually glue on it, and we got to get that glue off. And be careful, I got the monitor on right now. They're glued down. Actually, I'm going to turn the monitor off for a second. And we got to get the old glue off so we can move them. And then when we're done, we should glue them back down with some hot glue. Just be careful around here. This is glass and tubes. So get the old glue off the rings so they can move. Okay. Let me just, yep, they move now. Okay. And what we're going to do, and I can't really show you both, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these rings, okay? And there's 3 sets of 2, okay? And these are basically magnets that you're moving around. And you're just, this is just trial and error, okay? There's 2 here, there's 2 here, and then there's 2 on the bottom here. Actually, no, there's 2. It's 3 stacks of 2 basically, okay? There's 2 here, and then 2 here. And I'm just going to kind of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of separate them like this, and see what happens. And I'm just going to keep playing with them until I get everything lined up on those white lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the effect as I move them. So let me turn the game back on and put it back in the mode. Okay, we're zoomed up close to the grid, and I'm going to start moving those tabs, and I'm using a mirror to see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to keep moving them. I'm just trying to eyeball it to get the guns lined up. And all of the colors combined is what makes white. And so we're trying to get white lines, and we get pure white lines when all three of the guns are lined up perfectly together. And it looks like the blue and the red is still too high. Okay, you can see there. No, that's the green one we're moving. So, looks like our red needs to come up, and I'm separating the tabs. That's kind of moving the blue. You can see the blue's way off. And this could take some time. I mean, I'll screw around with this sometimes for a half hour, which we're not going to do in this video. I might go away and come back. But I'm basically just eyeballing this, moving the tabs around till I get everything lined up. And I can see the blue and the red are not lined up at all. Ooh, that looks pretty close right there. The blue, it's getting better, but it's not perfect. That look good? That's close. I'm just moving these around, keeping my eyes on the lines with the mirror. It's getting worse. Alright, well, I think I'm going to keep playing with this. And again, this is just trial and error, just seeing which way the lines move as you turn those. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and that's pretty damn good. Perfectly white lines. I could see, I think, a little bit of red poking out. I don't think so, actually. You can kind of zoom in here. Might be a little bit of red poking out. Let's see if I can just fine-tune that just a little tiny bit. Boy, that's pretty good, man. I think I'm going to stop there. Those are some white lines. So that's how you converge a monitor. Hopefully you guys followed that. It's really abstract, you know. You got to kind of have to eyeball it, but those are white lines, and when the red and the green and the blue are all lined up, you get perfect white, okay? And if your convergence is on, your picture quality is going to be really good. I mean, it's going to be sharp, okay? So let's go, I think what I want to do now, actually, I want to take the game out of test, and let's look at the game and adjust the colors. And on this one, there's no color mode in the test menu, so we're going to have to just kind of look at the game and adjust the picture. So let me restart the game and get it out of test. One sec. All right, guys, I'm back. You know, I have been screwing around with this monitor for about an hour. Honest to God, a full hour adjusting it, adjusting the colors, just trying to get it in the right spot. I rejuved it with my rejuvenator. I didn't film that. I'm sorry. Actually, I've already done a rejuvenator video, so I just hit it with the rejuver pretty quick. The picture's pretty good, though. It looks actually way more blue right now in the camera than it is in real life. The blue is more of a navy blue kind of color, but it looks good. I think it does look, it looks right. I got a bit of a curve here. I couldn't really get, I mean, the picture's funny. It's like it fills the screen now, but now it doesn't. It's like, depending on what screen it is, it's like this thing's moving all around. I just had a real tough time. And then also, because we played around with those convergence rings, I kind of had like some degaussing issues, and I came in with my degaussing coil, which is this thing right here, and so I came in with this, and I just degaussed it, and it got rid of all the little kind of smudgy stuff on here. And you can buy one of these on eBay. It's basically like a magnet, like an electric magnet, and you push this button, and it kind of messes with the picture like that. And when it kind of rubs out the magnetic part, you know, if the tube gets magnetized, and it can when you're messing with those convergence rings, because those are magnets. And but anyway, I feel pretty good about where it is right now. I think maybe my blue drive might be up just a little too far. I could probably back it off a hair. That probably looks a little bit better. Because these screens are supposed to be like a navy blue, not a black color. And it's just kind of different. But I feel pretty good right now. I think this looks actually really tight. But man, I'm telling you, I played with this monitor a lot. I mean, we're talking about an hour of me screwing around with the settings and everything. And I'll kind of show you all the adjustments I made. And I realized kind of quick that this is a hard thing to show you guys on video. Because it really is a lot of trial and error, okay? So on the neck board, we've got 3 pots here. It's R, G, and B. There's a red, green, and a blue pot right here. And then on the bottom, on the other side, are 2 other pots. These ones here are... I think this is, one's drive and one's like linear or something, I don't remember, but these are like the linear pots, and then the drive's on the bottom, and there's only 2 of them. But you gotta mess with these 5 pots, the 3 that are right here and the 2 on the bottom, to get the colors where they need to be. And boy, I played with these pots a lot, okay? And then we got the convergence done, and I came in here with some hot glue, and I hot glued those down once I got it in the right spot. I also played with the focus and the screen. Now the screen is kind of like the brightness, okay? And I adjusted that just so it was not too bright, not too dark. And then I also adjusted with the focus, which is kind of like the sharpness, okay? And those are those 2 knobs right there. Again, I didn't film that because, God, it's just such a hard thing to show you. And really, when it comes time to adjust this monitor, whenever I do these, it takes me forever because it's just a lot of fiddling with knobs till you get it where you want it. And you got to take the time to do it because, trust me on this, you know, it's worth it, because if you take the time and just set aside an hour and say, I'm going to just play with all these knobs, and it's like, you know, each knob's kind of affecting the other one. Like if you have too much green, it makes the blue look weird, and then too much blue makes the red look weird. And you know, if the focus and if the brightness, if the screen is too bright, the colors are all washed out, and you got to kind of back it off a little bit. So all these things kind of mess with each other. And also, I had a really hard time getting the picture centered in general. And you know what? This is the G07. The G07 is an interesting monitor because the geometry on it. Actually, I still have my little horizontal width coil tool in there. The geometry on these things is hard to control. And the adjustments are shitty. Okay, so we have these 2 little kind of pins here, these little jumpers, you know. One is horizontal position, center, left, and right. One is vertical position, center, left, and right. And I had to move these around. I had to adjust all these vertical size and horizontal, linear, and I mean, I literally just played with all of these back and forth, back and forth. And also, I had to go back and adjust the horizontal width. And I ended up just kind of making it as small as I could, really. I don't know, man. I played with it a lot, and I think I'm pretty happy where things are right now. And look at me, I'm still playing with it. But I really had to just fiddle around with this for like an hour, just for good measure and for the heck of it. I also took my Rejuver and I hit the tube with it. But you know, I still don't really like how this is filling the screen. I don't know if you guys can see there, but the blue kind of ends and then it goes to black, and it's just the best I could get it. But I think in general this picture looks pretty good. This is not a great monitor, you know. This G07, this one in particular, I've got plenty of G07s that look good. This one, it's okay. I still got a little bit of a curl here, and that's the kind of typical G07 curl. My Frogger's got it. You know, some of these monitors, you just can't get rid of it. And maybe I should have done Bob Roberts' little curl mod. I didn't do it. I didn't think I needed to, but hey, you know what? At the end of the day, it is a good-looking monitor. The game's totally playable. It's not perfect, though, and I know that, so is it going to bother me? I don't know. The cap kit, though, was a success, and it does look a lot better. So, you know what? That's going to be it for this video, and boy, I spent a lot of time on this monitor this weekend, guys. I really did. I've been in this garage. You know, this video, however long it is, you know, I spent probably 4 or 5 hours working on this monitor over the weekend, and it was a lot of work, but it looks good. It looks better, and this monitor was absolute garbage when I got it and really unusable. And by the way, this right here, see those little artifacts? That's an MCR thing. You know, all of them have that, Tron especially and Journey, and you can adjust it off the screen, but it doesn't bother me that it's there. All of them have it. It's not a problem with the game. They all have that those little kind of artifacts on the side there, and you just got to kind of live with it or just try to adjust it off the screen, but it doesn't really bother me. I'm actually used to seeing it on these games, but so just know when you see that little stuff there, I could probably widen the picture a smidge and get rid of it, but for now, whatever. I've messed around enough with this monitor today, but hey, you know what? Look at it. It looks pretty good, right? The colors, the picture. I mean, considering where we started, I would say I brought this monitor back to life and then some. But that looks pretty good. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it. Let's go back down to the basement. But, man, we're getting close. The hard stuff is really behind us now. I mean, we got the game working. We've got the monitor all squared away. Yeah, I'm pretty happy right now. So, all right, let's go back down to the basement. All right, guys, there you have it. What do you think? You know, I had to say something here because since I've left the garage, I started playing with the monitor some more, and I kind of can't stop touching it. And the bottom line here is I'm not very happy with that monitor. I hate that monitor. That is not a good G07. I adjusted it a lot, actually, off camera and after I filmed there. And it's pretty close. It's like good enough. You know, it's not like amazing. It's not my best monitor, I'll tell you that much. But it looks okay. It looks fine. The colors are there. There's no burn really. I just don't like. I can't seem to get it perfectly centered in the center of the tube. And I've adjusted it, and I don't know what to make of it. You know, these G07s are a pain in the ass. You know, I remember this Frogger has a G07, and I spent a lot of time on this monitor too, and actually this monitor worked out. There's a slight curve. I've got a curve over here on the on the Pac-Man that's got a G07 in it, so I don't know, man. I hate those monitors. I really do. I don't know if I have a lot of, I think I have more 4900s down here than G07s. The Wells Gardner 4900, now that's a good monitor. These G07s, man, they're hit or miss. I think there's a G07 in this. Yeah, there is. And this one I always had trouble. I always thought it should be lower there. But anyway, there you have it. At the end of the day, I think we're good. We're good to go. I think I'm done with the monitor. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I played with it enough. So, hope you guys liked that video. I know, another long one. So, next week, what are we going to do next week? I think we're going to start... restoring the cabinet. That's kind of what's next here. So, we'll start that next week, and then we'll go from there. And by the way, thanks for watching my little videos here. I release new videos every Sunday and sometimes in between. If you've never subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click subscribe. Also, check out my 2 podcasts. One's called Video Game Outsiders at videogameoutsiders.com. The other is Arcade Outsiders at arcadeoutsiders.com. That's arcadeoutsiders.com. We do both those on Tuesdays, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on allgames.com. And during the week, you can download those on iTunes and Stitcher and all that good stuff. So, anyway, that's going to be it for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Later, and bye.